Oh. Oh. Welcome to Meaningful Mornings. If we are happy for every moment, then we will be happy forever. Every moment creates forever. Relatedly, if we change every day, then we will tune in to the changeless. If every day becomes more meaningful, in the happiness series, I shared a 9-hour plan to modify our week. Then we will tune into the changeless. This means we will be joyous, and that will never change. We will have felt independent joy. This is the power, the efficacy of meaningful mornings, that this is experienced every day. Jnana in English means knowledge. What this expresses as is knowing. I have knowledge about our children's schedule. That means I'm knowing this. We have to know who we are while we do what we're doing. That's what jnana is. Jnana is knowledge. Knowledge is knowing. Knowing your nature while doing whatever you're doing. The verb is not important. It is the feeling. Initially, this will require effort. In Sanskrit, we will have to follow our kartavya karma. Karma means actions or responsibilities. Kartavya, because this is what we're supposed to do. This is my design. When you put in significant effort towards your kartavya karma, then this effort will slowly evolve to becoming effortless. That is when we go from kartavya karma to Bhagavata dharma, where I'm integrated with this intention. I'm integrated with this presence so that you don't get lost in some of these poetic sentiments. Whenever we engage in kartavya karma, meaning we're putting in effort, we tend to account for space and matter and time. There's a space for me to engage in this responsibility. There's a time for me to feel this. But for those who are more evolved, that is Bhagavata Dharma, there is no space or matter or time. They have this intention, they feel this irrespective of these conditions. I'm highlighting all of this because in the previous verse, verse 33, dravya and insights about materials are shared. And I told you, dravya means materials, rituals, external conditions. Dravya is a means to jnana, it is not equivalent to jnana. I may start off using dravya, materials, rituals, external, conditional, but I have to grow into jnana, where I know while I'm doing irrespective of condition. This is a means, not an ends. Keep checking yourself. If you believe this, if you have faith in this, to help us evolve from the limited to the limitless in terms of our feeling, our faith, we have verse 34 of chapter 4, which I've shared with all of you, is one of the most meaningful and practical verses out of the 700 that we're going to explore. Tadvidhi pranipatena pariprashnena sevaya upadekshanti te jnanam jnaninastattvadarshinaha. Tatvidhi, you should know. And here, Prince Arjuna's name is not shared, so who should know? All should know. What? Pranipatena. Pranipatena means by prostrating. I'm going to go teaching by teaching, by prostrating. In our culture, there is a lot that we do externally with a plan that this should be felt internally. As an example, when Vivek comes into this home, I take my shoes off. That is an external action. The sentiment should be, now that I'm in my home, I should be thinking in a more introverted way. Less about work or shopping, etc. You're all thinking, Vivek, you don't think about work or shopping anyways. Those are bad examples relating to me. But see how it's an external action to develop this internal feeling. This is the necessity of prostrating, that one is doing this physically, but what should be felt is humility. This prostrating is qualified. In our culture, this is a Sashtanga pranama. Sashtanga means prostrating with 8 parts. If you were to lie on your chest, flat, feet out, hands out, 7 of your body parts would be touching the ground. And what would be the 8th? The mind. Another description of this prostration, pranipata, is when you have one hand on the feet of your guide or your god, and one hand underneath their feet, your guide, your god. And the reason is, the hand on top is so they don't leave. The hand underneath is so you don't leave. If someone's stepping on your hand, then you can't leave, correct? That's the intensity of what this relationship should be like. And for those in our Upanishad course, I had shared that when one approaches their guide, they carry summit. Summit means wood. And when they get to their guide, they offer that summit with the intention that, please help me to burn this. This summit, or wood, this is symbolic for vasanas, or the sense of individuality. One carries this on their head. Don't we do that? What's most important in my life? Vivek. this sense of individuality. But that's a weight on who I am. And then I offer this to my guide, make me infinity. You know how to be infinite. Teach me. Let me burn this sense of individuality. In summary, just that one term, pranipatena, how we can practice this is shravana. Listen. Be inspired. Next, this is to be practiced sequentially, pariprashnena, which means by questioning. Prashna means question. Pariprashnena means active questioning, complete questioning. Now we're all thinking about a legal case. They're in a room and you're being intimidated. Tell me where you were, what you did. If the first part of the sequence is shravana, or listening, naturally the next part of the sequence is manana, or reflecting. Whatever inspired you through listening, for you to internalize that through reflecting. A great deal of us, and this has become worse over the past 2 years, our active learning has devolved to passive learning, where we as if learn while doing many other things, which means my mind is in many other places. That's not shravana, that's not manana. That's only multitasking, which is inefficient, ineffective. Whenever one has a doubt about life, a doubt about living, one should have reflected on this intensely before sharing that doubt. A problem with technology is that we're so accessible now. If someone has a question, what do? They immediately email me about it or share that in the chat. Culturally, was this possible back in the day? It wasn't. You had to intensely reflect on this yourself before that doubt is shared. This is why I never pick up my phone and I never answer texts, because the sense of urgency is unhealthy for me and most definitely for the person who's trying to reach me. So I set up meetings then. They leave a message, I set up a meeting. See how this is being facilitated. I'm going to read to you a portion of Swami Chinmayananda's commentary. By raising doubts to the teacher, we are opening up the cistern of knowledge locked up in the master's bosom. What interesting writing, bosom. A perfect guru immediately detects from the questions the false line of thinking in the student, and while removing the very doubt, he imperceptibly orders and reorganizes the right way of thinking in the inner thought life of the student. When this intellectual wrestling has been practiced for a long time, the fragrance of perfection in the teacher, as it were, gets transferred to the student's life. In summary, what Puja Swami Chinmayananda is sharing is that an ignorant person doesn't know they're ignorant. That's what makes them ignorant, no? It is only that active relationship with one who's not ignorant where they can point out our ignorance. See how that has to be preceded by humility. Which one of us wants to accept that we're ignorant? If I started calling out, Usha, you are ignorant. Rolly, you are ignorant. Manish, you are ignorant. You're smiling because that's the context of this example. But imagine someone on the street said, "You're ignorant." How we would fight against that. I know you are, but what am I? Listen and reflect. That is a very powerful point, that an ignorant person doesn't know they're ignorant. Only a happy person can point out that you're unhappy and how to be happy, which is the third part of this sequence. So the third part is sevaya. If Shravana is how this sequence began, then Manana, what would the third part be? Nididhyasana. Nididhyasana in English means contemplation, but here's what I want you to reflect on. The etymology of this word is nitaram dhyaihi. Nitaram means perpetually, and dhyaihi means in mind. If an idea is perpetually in your mind, that really means that you're living that then, or you're practicing that. If I keep thinking anger, 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 my words will start to become like that, correct? My actions will become like that. But if I've listened and reflected, Nididhyasana means I will start to practice. In the ashram, outside of the ashram, in meaningful mornings, outside of meaningful mornings. This is enough for this morning on this verse. I will share more on the second line and the next verse when we gather tomorrow. From inspiration to application, your application continues to be part of the happiness series. As I mentioned, I've shared 9 hours. I really have shared, no. The whole workshop will be 6 hours, but I've shared 9 hours of suggestions for our 168-hour week. If 5% of our week can be modified, can be dedicated towards happiness more, I feel the return will be 95%. That is an awesome investment, no? You put in 5, you get back 95. Wouldn't you invest in that stock? Be part of the happiness series as I review and complete that this morning, this evening. Shanti. 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 Be safe, be sound, be serene, be happiness.